Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Full Spectrum series. I am Nick Valentino. I'm an academic counselor in the Hajim Dean's office, and I'm your host for the series. The Full Spectrum series is comprised of introductory lectures from Hajim faculty and staff. This is an opportunity to ask Hajim faculty and staff about their program, about research, about the types of challenges that engineers in their field work to solve. Before we get to today's program, I want to remind you that we are going again on Friday with a double header. We have both data science and electrical and computer engineering. Information about that will be on Facebook and Instagram for you. If you can't stay for the whole program, these videos will also live on the Hajim Facebook account or Instagram or YouTube. If you'd like a chance to win a prize, please put your name in the chat or on the Facebook broadcast and indicate whether you're a prospective student, alum, staff, faculty, or any other part of the university community. During the lecture, I'll be monitoring the chat and also on Facebook, be monitoring any questions if you'd like to submit them. We will also have time for discussion at the end. This session is presented by Dean Alvin Lomibao. Dean Lomibao is the Assistant Dean for Undergraduate Studies in the Hajim Dean's office. We are going to talk about creating your own major within engineering. And with that, Alvin, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Nick. I'm so happy to be here and presenting both to folks who are live with us today, as well as to future viewers, either on any of our YouTube or Instagram, Facebook. It's all great. So thanks everyone for coming. The dictum from Nick was to talk about the design your own major options that we have at the University of Rochester. But in putting it together, I did find that there's some stuff that's kind of related to more generally studying engineering very broadly across any of our disciplines, as well as talking to students who might be undecided within engineering. So, that's a question that we'll get pretty frequently within some of the admissions work that we do. So I did want to talk a little bit about that as well, so that that information can live online for folks who might be interested in the University of Rochester, but unsure where in engineering they want to begin. So again, this is this first few slides is kind of putting it together, but like from really trying to give an introduction as to why I put these two things together, as well as giving an introduction to the university. So getting your education at the University of Rochester means you get both the intellectual excitement and access to a vast array of opportunities as a major research university, as well as the intimacy of a great liberal arts college. So what that means is that you have access to if you enroll within the college at the undergraduate level, you still have access to the entire university. And many students will take advantage of that by taking classes at the Eastman School of Music or the School of Medicine and Dentistry, or perhaps they'll participate in research at the Laboratory for Laser Energetics, or perhaps taking advantage of other opportunities at the Simon School of Business, Warner School of Education, Memorial Art Gallery, Maine Center for Entrepreneurship, or other units within the university. So you can enrich your education not just through the offerings within the undergraduate college, but also throughout the other units of the university. And then to underscore and expand on the university vision and values, the college put together a statement that in all aspects of campus life, the college nurtures educational excellence, advances students' personal and professional growth, and values diversity and social responsibility. So again, kind of more for the prospective students, but also just as a refresher for students who are currently enrolled. I do have one slide on the Rochester curriculum. At the Rochester curriculum, the primary components are at first, the introductory writing course. So unlike other schools, the University of Rochester only has one required course. It's the primary writing requirement that is typically completed during the student's first or second semester while enrolled. One of the reasons why you come to a university is to get a major. The way that we do it at Rochester is we kind of divide all areas of study into three buckets: arts and humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences, math and engineering. Your major will fit into one of these. And so today, obviously, I'm focusing on engineering mostly. But for other students, you might be interested in studying anthropology or business under the social sciences, or any of the languages or philosophy under arts and humanities. And then I said kind of earlier that the University of Rochester, we have this liberal arts education. So we do want you to study something in the other disciplines, even if you are taking a focused approach and have your major in one of the disciplines. So we came up with what is called a cluster. And a cluster is a set of pre-approved courses that give focused study to a particular subject. A major will do this with the same outcome. However, by comparison, a major is usually 10 to 16 courses, and it's a combination of introductory, advanced courses, and a capstone project, while a cluster is only 3 courses. So you are getting an introduction, a focused introduction, but it is just going to be limited just because you're taking 3 courses. Okay, and then kind of getting at like, why did I really, combine design your own major and undecided? I think creating your own major is inherently an exploratory process. And by exploration, I specifically mean you will want to be intellectually curious. You're going to be taking a variety of courses, perhaps even quote unquote shopping during the first few weeks of the semester. Many departments and programs at Rochester do not have analogs at the high school level. And so you'll need to get out of your intellectual comfort zone to find and take interest in these areas. You'll also want to have a growth mindset. If you believe that talent can be developed, that hard work will pay off, that you have a strategy, planning, all of that is important in designing your own major, as well as for students who are undecided and ultimately need to decide on a major. You're going to benefit from or need guidance and advising in putting together your course plans, either whether you're undecided for 1 semester, for 4 semesters, whether you decide to declare your own major in your 5th or 6th or 7th semester. That's going to require some help from professionals who are either faculty or staff in the areas that you're interested in, to make sure that you're really meeting your educational objectives. And then kind of it is really not related to courses. It's building confidence in yourself and your values, reaffirming your interests and making sure that what you're doing and what you're getting out of college is consistent with what resonates with you and what you want to get out of a college experience. Okay, so with that, I will talk about the 2 create your own major options, engineering science and interdepartmental engineering. I have a few slides about what to do for students who are undecided or choosing between a few engineering majors. I'll talk about some ways to supplement the classroom learning. And then finally, some kind of like housekeeping or putting it all together slides at the very end of the presentation. So engineering science is our first one. It is a Bachelor of Arts degree. It is flexible and interdisciplinary. It is for students who wish to broaden their learning horizons across disciplines in the liberal arts. So the Bachelor of Arts provides a strong background for students who wish to pursue career in areas that might not necessarily be the doing the engineering, but it could be in technical sales, it could be in public service, it could be in management or entrepreneurship, for example. Its mission is to educate students who are able to develop and convey solutions to multidimensional problems which require that scientific and technological expertise, but also applying that to global and social perspectives. It will prepare you for a wide range of jobs within government, private consulting, and a variety of major industries. Additionally, graduates have had success in admission to graduate schools, including medicine, law, business, education, and the social sciences. The engineering science curriculum has some depth in engineering, but it also prioritizes depth in the humanities and social sciences. The Bachelor of Arts degree provides a foundation in the sciences and associated mathematics that underlie engineering, such as mechanics, electricity and magnetism, fluid and thermodynamics, computational analysis, circuits, and chemistry. But in addition to that, students are able to really choose a course of study. There's a core of about 8 courses, I believe, that students will really choose courses that are fit them and what their interests are. So one of the great things about the engineering science program is because it has so much flexibility, we've been able to create tracks or focus areas that students can choose to specialize in if they so desire. So again, this is optional. This is above and beyond. This is for students who are particularly interested in this, but is not required to graduate with a degree in engineering science. So the way that these tracks are put together is through a careful selection of clusters, minors, and electives within the major. The courses would lead to a more in-depth understanding of a particular topic and could potentially lead to a minor. The sample schedules are viewed on the engineering science website, which I have at the end of the presentation. So as an example, students with an interest in sustainable environmental engineering practices may want to investigate this option of majoring in engineering science and with a minor in sustainability that could satisfy the social science division of the Rochester curriculum. To round things out, students might consider completing the humanities cluster, sustainability in the humanities. Engineering ethics area encourages students to complete a philosophy minor that would satisfy the humanities division of the Rochester curriculum, in addition to the engineering major, which would fulfill the natural sciences, math and engineering. And engineering in the business world, the sample schedule contains coursework in both business and engineering, which allows graduates to work successfully in technically oriented business positions, such as technical sales. Students complete a business minor that would satisfy the social science division of the Rochester curriculum. Okay, so that's the Bachelor of Arts in Engineering Science. We also offer the Interdepartmental Engineering program, which is a Bachelor of Science degree. The Interdepartmental Engineering program requires more technical courses and technical sequences of courses that would achieve students' educational objectives. It's really designed for students who have an interest that kind of lies within the different majors that we currently offer. So off the top of my head, the two areas that I could really think of that this would make sense for students. The first is high energy density physics. So we already have a number of faculty at the Department of Mechanical Engineering, but as well in the Institute of Optics, the Department of Physics, and the Laboratory for Laser Energetics, who have specialty in this area. So if an undergraduate wanted to come forward and say, hey, I'm really interested in this area, I want to put together an engineering major around that, they could do that. Another area that's been pretty popular that a lot of students have expressed interest is in robotics. So we've seen some students who are able to put together coursework that draws from computer science, electrical and computer engineering. Perhaps they're taking philosophy courses as well to learn a little bit more about ethics that might be related to artificial intelligence. Okay, the Interdepartmental Engineering curriculum, similar to the engineering science curriculum, there is a broad foundation in the natural sciences, math, physics, chemistry. There's a computational analysis course that needs to be taken. And then the core consists of 8 200 level, so intermediate level courses, of which you can take some research if you're interested in that. And we also require that students come up with what we call technical sequences of scientific courses. So a technical sequence will be 3 courses with no more than 1 at the introductory level, and the other 2 need to kind of be at that intermediate level. So a student who might be interested in robotics, for example, might come up with a technical sequence called robot control, where they might take introductory computer programming as their introductory course, but then as their upper level course, they might take a course called robot control, that's computer science 231, and computer science 232 is autonomous mobile robots. Also distinguishing the interdepartmental engineering curriculum from engineering science is that there is a capstone project, either a senior design or a senior thesis. And the IDE curriculum also requires 2 clusters. So if you major in this, you need a cluster in the natural sciences, or in the social sciences, and a cluster in arts and humanities. So kind of similar to engineering science, I wanted to give a few kind of sample IDE programs. This is historical, so I'm not sure exactly how old some of these were approved. One of the things that I think is pretty interesting is that one of the ones listed here is audio electronics engineering. And in the past, I think 5 to 8 years, we've had a program called audio and music engineering come through, and it's one of the majors that we offer right now, and we do get quite a few students who are interested in that. So I like to imagine that used to start as an interdepartmental engineering program, and then there was just so much interest in that we decided to really figure out if we could make that a standard program that students could major in. So and again, just to kind of give a little bit more of an example of what this might look like, a student who might be interested in majoring in biomolecular engineering might have to take those introductory math, physics, chemistry courses. And then their 3 technical sequences might be in chemical engineering organic biochemistry, and cell biology and biomaterials. So within that one major, you need to come up with those technical courses, technical sequences of courses. And then, so those were the two programs. Just to kind of compare the two of them, I put this summary slide all together. So for both of them, you will have to take math, at least 3 semesters of calculus through differential equations. That's our Math 165 course. There is some underlying physics and chemistry that you need to take. It is a little bit more prescribed in the engineering science curriculum as compared to the Interdepartmental Engineering program. And there's a computer programming course required for engineering science, and a more advanced, you might say, computational analysis course required for interdepartmental engineering, additional math and science courses, natural science courses. The core is more prescribed in engineering science, where you'll take the intro engineering course, the mechanics course, and then 2 from circuits, solids and fluids, thermo and optics, and then 4 additional courses. Whereas in interdepartmental engineering, you're kind of able to work with a faculty advisor to come up with those technical sequences. Interdepartmental engineering has a capstone project as well. It's not required for engineering science. And I just put faculty recommender, also required for interdepartmental engineering as well. Okay, so moving on to undecided engineering. I kind of thought that there were like 2 parts of this. If you're coming to the university and you're undecided, there are the courses that you're going to be taking to kind of figure out what you want to do. But then there's also the stuff that you do outside the courses. The University of Rochester really prides itself on being a residential college. Pre-COVID, we had 90% of all of our students who were living on, something like 90% of students were living on campus for at least the first 2 years, and then a high proportion of students even in their junior and senior year. So living in the community where you're talking with other folks, that we have a very high rate of student engagement, student involvement in student organizations and club sports and that sort of thing. Those are all really important components of being part of the Rochester community. So if you're undecided in engineering, thinking about the coursework that you would need to take, what happens when you matriculate at the University of Rochester is you are assigned at least 1 academic advisor. For students who specifically tell us that you're interested in engineering, you're assigned what's called a college advisor, who is kind of centrally located in the Hajim School Dean's office. And then you're also assigned 2 departmental advisors, an undergraduate program coordinator who's a staff person, and a faculty advisor who can help you think about your career plans and research and internships, those kinds of questions. The kind of working with the academic advisors, they'll help you figure out what courses will help you get that foundational knowledge, the math, chemistry, physics, as well as coming up with some exploratory courses that will really help you figure out what major you want to take. And I mean, you could see it on the engineering science and interdepartmental engineering comparison page, but it's also true for many of our other programs that a lot of the courses are common between majors. So we do find across the entire college, art sciences in engineering, students will, about 25% of students will change their major in their first year. So it's a pretty common thing, and we'll work with students to figure out how we can support them and make sure that they are still able to graduate on time. Okay, so this is kind of the meat that's related both to undecided students, but it's also appropriate for students who are designing their own major. Because you're really putting together a program that is individualized, part of that is supplementing it with other experiences that you can get outside the classroom. And I think this is really important for those undecided students, because this is the way that you're really able to interrogate what your interests are, to make sure that they are things that you're interested in, to meet other people and potentially talk about their paths and courses that they've taken, and what their parents might be doing, or their friends or cousins, and really try and figure out what major might be interesting to them. So we talk about 3 big experiences that we want all students to graduate with. The first is research. And so research is the pursuit of new knowledge, deeper inquiry and innovation. The University of Rochester is a Research 1 university, which means that many of our teaching faculty are also involved in research. And for STEM students, for STEM departments, it can take place in research labs, but it could also take place in libraries, hospitals, museums, or recording studios. That can take place during the year. Some students will do it for credit, or they can do it for pay. Some students will do it over the summer, either at the University of Rochester or closer to where they call home. And at the university, we do have some opportunities for students to share the outcomes of what they do in the research, either through conferences, journals, symposia. Some departments also put together panels so that, for first year students or for second year students, they'll have juniors and seniors come in and say, this is the research that I was able to do and how I was able to find that experience. The second kind of big experience we like to have students graduate with is a global experience. So we do have traditional semester abroad programs, but we also offer summer and winter break programs, short-term faculty-led programs, and international service learning. So there really is, again, pre-COVID, we did have about 20 to 25% of our students who are participating in the global experiences. Our Office for Education Abroad during the pandemic has done an exceptional job of helping students find virtual experiences that would satisfy this area. But we do have some students starting this semester who were able to travel to other countries. So we're hoping to ramp back up to that 25%. And then finally, the third big experience we like students to have are internships. So for the University of Rochester, internships are housed in the Career Center. And we really like them because that's really, for a lot of students, they will end up going into quote unquote industry. So it gives students the opportunity to figure out, is this the environment that I'm interested in? What kind of company am I interested in? Is it a small startup where I might be doing engineering, but I'm also doing marketing, sales, and customer service? Do I want to be working at a gigantic company with 20,000 employees, and I just have to focus on one project, and I'm able to get super specialized? So it really gives students, there's a lot under here, but it gives students great opportunity to really figure out what working might look like. Okay, I'll go through a few more other kinds of experiences or ways that students might supplement their learning. And one of the big ones is through student organizations. So as I mentioned, about 90% of our students will participate in some kind of student organization, whether that is engineering-focused student organizations, which I'm here to highlight today, but that could also be club sports or community engagement, fraternity sorority affairs, religious and spiritual student organizations. So there's a number of organizations students will be involved in. The three kinds that I want to highlight that do work with our office, the first one is discipline. So each of the academic departments have their own discipline-specific student organizations. So AICHE is the American Institute of Chemical Engineering students that a lot of our students in chemical engineering will join. And then similarly, ASME for mechanical engineering, AES for audio engineering, BMES, et cetera, et cetera. We have a few for affinity. So if students identify as being part of one of these affinity networks, they can join the National Society of Black Engineers as NSBE, the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers is SAES, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers is SHEP, and then SWE is the Society of Women in Engineering. And then finally, I have what I call doing engineering. And so these are groups that the purpose of their group might be to do engineering projects, either locally in the community. They might be going to competitions and competing against other against other universities or student groups, or they might be going internationally. So ESW is the Engineers for a Sustainable World chapter. Engineers Without Borders, EWB. Baja is our group that builds an off-road vehicle, and they compete locally in Rochester, but they do travel across the country. And robotics team, we actually do have Luna robotics team that will be competing in Cape Canaveral, or for a chance to go to Cape Canaveral this coming May. So I'm really proud of the work that they've done there. Okay, if you're interested in doing, quote unquote doing, we do have some courses that are related to this. So the first 5 I have really give students the opportunity to, through their coursework, really get a sense of, what design is, what engineering is. So basic mechanical fabrication, for example, is a pretty popular course that students will take while at Rochester. And that allows students to get access to the machine shop that we have on campus. That's it's swipe access, but once you take that the basic mechanical fabrication course, you're able to use that course. And so a lot of students for either robotics or the BAH teams, or for their senior design projects, might be going into that machine shop. Independent study I have kind of down here, the sixth bullet point. I mentioned earlier that some students will do research for credit. A lot of that is done through independent study, but there are other reasons why you might be working with a faculty member to come up with course of independent study, where you're working with that faculty member to come up with some project. And then the last two I have are doing career exploration. So Design Your Life, I would really recommend for students who are undecided in engineering. It's a 1-credit course that is taught by staff in our career center. So that's a great way, number one, to be connected to staff who work in that area, but as well to really, they do some things, both, talking to people to figure out, what are they doing? How did they get there? Learning about career paths, that sort of thing, but also to help you learn about yourself, what your strengths are, how that might manifest itself in a major or ultimately in a career. And then communicating your professional identity is kind of a course that we have available for upper level sophomores and juniors to come up with resumes and statements of purpose, professional social media, to really come up with what that professional identity might look like once they graduate. And then I guess I didn't really talk about what engineering is, but the last few things I have here are taking those engineering principles and then applying that in other areas that aren't really, aren't so focused inward, but are looking at what you can be designing and have that be in the interest of humanity and society. So our Center for Entrepreneurship, I mentioned, very early on in the presentation, they offer both short-term programs as well as longer-term programs and competitions and challenges. So over on the right hand here, I have one of our student, not a student, a group of students who were able to come up with a plan. They were able to move into an accelerator as a result of participating in one of the challenges at the Center for Entrepreneurship. iZone and Studio X are two areas, two physical spaces that are located in the River Campus libraries, and they will help students. That can be helpful for students. They both have one-term programs that students can attend, if you're just interested in attending for one day, but you can also work with them and they can do some consulting. iZone is more focused on the idea generating, the brainstorming, that sort of aspect of things, where Studio X is a space that's really designed specifically for augmented reality and virtual reality. So you can think of it as, a library is where you go to check books out, and they'll have experts there who are experts in information. Studio X is a space where you can go and you can actually check out some of virtual reality headsets and talk to experts in AR, VR, and talk about how AR and VR might be helpful for you as a student, or potentially introduce you to those areas if you've have no experience with them. We have some courses through the university that have community engaged content. So community engaged learning combines teaching, research, and practice with one or more partner organizations in the Rochester area. And that provides students meaningful opportunities to connect with this space that we physically are located to. But we do find that about 2/3 of our students come to the University of Rochester from outside New York State. And so learning, being part of the Rochester community is not just being with the folks who are on campus, but it's also really important to understand what the University of Rochester means to the area. It's the largest employer in the Finger Lakes region, but also learning about the history and really engaging with that as well. And then the E5 program is a special program that's run through, it's jointly through the Center for Advising Services and our business school. It offers select students additional time at college, tuition-free, to explore an experiential pursuit, whether that is economic or social in nature. So that could be tied to engineering if students want. All right, so I kind of put a lot out there over the past half hour, and I promise I'm I'm going to wrap it up soon, but some kind of like outputs at the end of, once you're able to amass all of these experiences. So the first is if students come to the University of Rochester and you're undecided, you can't stay undecided forever. We do need you to choose a major. So I do have listed here the list of majors that we offer. These are that we offer in the Hajim School. If you're undecided engineering and then you decide you want to move into the School of Arts and Sciences, that's totally fine. We're happy for you to graduate. And so some of our students will graduate. Some of the more popular majors are in the arts and sciences are data science. We do see a lot of students move over there, digital media studies, and then some of the analogs. So biomedical engineering students might move over to biology, neurology, something like that. Chemical engineering students to chemistry and so on. Okay, one of the other things that some students will do to kind of tie all their experiences together is through the lens of, a big challenge. So if you are interested in kind of tying together your major, potentially a minor, or some of the, working at the Center for Entrepreneurship, maybe you did some work with Studio X, you could put all of that together under what we call the NAE Grand Challenges for Engineering. And so what happened was the National Academy of Engineering in 2008, they listed the 14 biggest challenges that we as a society will face in the 21st century. And so the University of Rochester is actually a partner school. And what that means is that as a student, you can choose one of the challenges on this previous page and choose 5 experiences around that challenge in 5 dimensions: research, interdisciplinary experience, social, entrepreneurship, innovation, a global dimension, and service learning. And if you complete each of those 5 experiences in one challenge, you can work with one of our advisors in our office and become a Grand Challenges Scholar. We'll recognize you on our website, we'll recognize you throughout commencement weekend, and the National Academy of Engineering will recognize you as well. Another way to think about some of your experiences is the Career Center really likes to put together a few, like an approach to going through your college experiences, Rochester. So even though you might know exactly what you want to study, we do think it's important for you to get curious, try things out, talk to people, as I've been saying, all throughout the presentation. And then one of the things actually that students came to us a few years ago and said is that, they get to their senior year, they've done so many things, they're not entirely sure how to tell their story. So what we did at the college is we came up with the college competencies, which lists 7 dimensions that we believe students will develop while engaging in all areas of the university, both inside and outside the classroom. So these are some areas in the college that we think is embedded in the work that we do, as well as the experiences that you have that will add to your personal story and will allow you to talk about your experiences to alumni, to parents, to recruiters, to future employers, that sort of thing. Okay, we're in the home stretch. So specifically for the majors, engineering, science, and interdepartmental engineering, if you're interested in those, I have the web pages at the back of the presentation. And what you can do is just go to the website, and on each of them, there is a page. For engineering science, it's called Declaring the Major. For interdepartmental engineering, it's called Formal Application. And what you'll do is you'll basically print out a checklist to the best of your abilities. You'll work for engineering science, you'll work with an academic counselor to list the courses that you've taken, are currently taking, or plan to take, and you come up with a plan to make sure that you fulfill all the requirements. For interdepartmental engineering, it is a little bit more complicated because you might recall that I said that you'll be working with a faculty advisor. So we want to make sure that there's a faculty letter of support as part of your application. The proposal has to list the courses that you're planning on taking. You need a description of your senior thesis or senior design project that you would be planning on completing. And then you need a statement of purpose, or statement of focus, excuse me. So that will list your long-term educational and career goals, why those goals can't be achieved using an existing major or minor or certificate, and how the courses comprise an integrated course of study. And then if you're interested in the grand challenges, I did list Emma Derisi is the academic counselor in my office who works with those students. For all the different opportunities that I talked about, If some of those resonated with you or you wanted to learn more, the way to get connected to those are through talking to your academic advisors, whether it's your college advisor or your undergraduate coordinator or the faculty advisor in your department. You could talk with course faculty, perhaps if it's a faculty member whose research you're interested in working through. We do offer a number of peers, formal, peer advising programs, whether, there's the resident advisors in the first year halls or first year fellows, those kinds of, friends. Those are some ways that you could be connected to some of the opportunities that I listed. Okay, and so that's it. I think, again, there's my contact information. There's Nick's. Nick is serving as the MC for today, but he also is the program coordinator for engineering science. So he's a great resource for students interested in that area. Emma, again, Grand Challenges is the contact there. So I have her email listed there. I'll leave this page up for a little bit, but then I can toggle back and forth between them. So here are all the links that so I guess one of the things to talk about, I did talk about create your own major in engineering. There is a create your own major in arts and sciences that's run through what is called the Multidisciplinary Studies Center. So if after this presentation, or if perhaps you're interested in an area that you think is engineering but leans more towards arts and sciences, you can create your own major in arts and sciences, and they list the process there on the MSc webpage. So, and then here are just some of the opportunities I discussed again, and kind of where they're housed. For folks later on, or folks on the call, if you're interested in just searching for these offices, these areas on campus, you can learn a little bit more about those. All right, Nick, over to you.
Yeah, so we have a lot of good questions.
Great.
So we'll start with the first one. I'm interested in interdisciplinary study, application of artificial intelligence, solving the problem of climate change and contribute to sustainability using CS, environmental sciences, climate change science, public policy, economics, chemistry, and social science. He asked, this is earlier on in the meeting, but can you provide more into Rochester's flexible curriculum clusters and co-curricular opportunities to help me in the pursuit to create my own major?
Sure. If specifically about support, where I would go with that is your first point of contact will want to be an academic advisor to really help you navigate all of the questions. I mean, I'll give you an answer here, but specifically working with you, if you're coming to the university with AP credit or IB or A levels, that sort of thing, like your academic advisor is really going to help you figure out what courses make sense for you. In terms of what you might want to do, this could be, I'll start here. I think that the areas that were kind of listed in that question definitely, to me, seem like they would fall within interdepartmental engineering. But so if you were to do an interdepartmental engineering major, that would fulfill again this third bucket, natural sciences, math, and engineering, and you would have to do two clusters in one each in arts and humanities and the other in social sciences. So you could use those clusters to do additional focused research in those areas. So I think public policy was one of the areas that, economics was one of the areas that was talked about. That sounds like it could be a social science cluster to me. I can't recall if there was something that really leaned more towards arts and humanities, but perhaps there was something there that really fits into that. Ethics, I think, that could be a big one. That would be philosophy, which fits under arts and humanities.
One of the frequent discussions we have with first year students is a lot of your questions in high school and leading up to college are, can I? So it's a little different in college because the answer is usually in most cases, yes, but it's should I and when. So, you'll be able to tackle some of this your first semester, but we also want you to remind you that you have so much time here, both in the classroom and outside, to sort of work on these things together. So while your major may reflect a lot of these parts, at the same time, college is also about using the resources of the university that we can potentially offer you both in the classroom and outside.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to tell students, a lot of students, or a proportion of students will come to me and say, I'm really interested in a major in biomedical engineering and I want to do a second major in business. And for those students, I don't necessarily want to say, don't do it. It's too many courses, like you're not going to finish. It's going to take you 6.5 years. But I really try to say, okay, what is it that you're interested in business? Is that something that you might be able to explore through a minor? Is that something where, you could potentially get an internship at a company that, is in that area of business that you're, business is a lot of different things, right? Do you want to go to a company that's doing marketing? Or could you go to if you're interested in startups, could you go to the Center for Entrepreneurship and, work on a startup? I think, if I were, I don't do, hiring of students graduating, in that area, but I think that would be if a student came to me and they had an engineering background, but then also worked on a startup as an undergrad, I think that is really compelling, experiences.
One of the questions I want to know about the opportunities of community engagement.
Sure. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. I would refer the question asker to the Center for Community Engagement. They offer both the curricular, so community engaged learning is one piece of what they do, but they also oversee a number of student organizations that do community engagement. So they have Partners in Reading is one of the really popular ones. Students will go into classrooms in the K through 12 level, and they'll do some reading with younger students. I'm sure that's just the tip of the iceberg.
There's also the certificate in community engaged learning, which the Hajim School of Engineering is a partner of. We also have Engineers Without Borders, too, which is another one. While it's not necessarily, they do work with a company in our community, but this is also elsewhere, usually to build structures or water supplies. So there's a lot of depth to that at the university. They wanted to ask about how interdisciplinary studies differ from interdepartmental engineering.
Interdisciplinary studies?
Yeah.
So interdisciplinary studies, I think the formal name of the Create Your Own Major program in Arts and Sciences, I think that's called interdisciplinary studies. So again, that's that's the Create Your Own Major, but it's in Arts and Sciences. So I was trying to come up with before the presentation some areas that might sound like they might be a Create Your Own Engineering and the Create Your Own Major in engineering, but might actually be Arts and Sciences. The two I came up with were global supply chain management, and now I obviously am forgetting the second one. But for me, global supply chain management, that could be engineering at some other schools. But for me, you might be able to take some technical courses through the School of Engineering, but you might be also taking some public policy courses, political science, economics, or something like that. So that kind of, for me, at least right now, it sounds like it could be Arts and Sciences.
Another question, what's the earliest one can start doing research?
Yeah, we get students who have research experience from high school. At the university, I usually tell students to start pretty successful. Students are able to start pretty successfully, I want to say, in their sophomore year. We do get students in their first year who are interested as well. And what I will do in those cases is refer those students to faculty, to the Office of Undergraduate Research, and see if there are opportunities available for them. For first year students, your experience might just be kind of hanging back a little bit on the sidelines. Perhaps some of the material or some of the techniques or chemicals or things that are happening in the lab is not something that you've experienced yet. So you might benefit more from perhaps reading papers or shadowing either an upper class student or a graduate student, just to to get your bearings before you're really able to really dive in and do your own thing independently.
We had a question about the commitment of our institution on sustainability, as a student is keen to learn about artificial intelligence and machine learning research and finding solutions to climate change issues to promote sustainability.
Yeah, so we do offer a sustainability major that is not a create your own. It's just a listed major, but that's I believe it's variable between arts and humanities and the social sciences. So it's not a natural science major. Kind of looking at that intersection between sustainability and artificial intelligence. I think, depending on what the ultimate goals are, the career goals and educational goals, that might be able to be satisfied by a major and a minor, or perhaps one of the, I don't think any of the certificates come to mind as being appropriate in that case, but potentially a major and a minor, or some other research experiences could be a way to get some of that content as well.
And some of this will spill over to a graduate program or for learning for the rest of your life. I think a lot of the temptation is to take every possible course that you can during undergrad, and a lot of it is building the foundation so that you have the fundamentals to understand the math, the physics, the chemistry, and the biology to be able to solve these problems. Ultimately, what this all boils down to is just different ways, understanding different methods to solve problems. Can international students get funding for a particular startup idea? And what sort of funding opportunities do students have for startups?
I want to say yes. Usually those, and I want to say that funding sources are available through a variety of different areas. So my first inclination is certainly the Center for Entrepreneurship. They, as I said, they do offer one-off programs, but they also offer challenges. So the one picture that I think I had, if I can find it, was this was a Swarm Starter. I believe that was a competition where, I think the students were working with folks, even, to be able to enter the competition. I'm sure they did some work beforehand, either, through, there might be an entrepreneurship class that they might have taken, or they might have worked with iZone or another area on campus. But that's real money that the students get in order to build their company. So the Center for Entrepreneurship definitely has some competitions where some money is available. Depending on what you're doing, the Center for Entrepreneurship can sponsor you to go to, I know there's the New York State Business Plan competition as well. So that has a number of different levels and funding avenues that students will be able to get to. They have accelerators. So part of, you're winning, a little bit of your winning might be the money, but more of it would be, working with, a sponsor who will help you develop your ideas, help you find, that round one investors, have some physical space if you need to do some technical development, that sort of thing. So yeah, well, lots of opportunity for students to, domestic or international, to get involved in those opportunities.
So I told you there was a lot of questions.
Sure.
Another question is, as a student that has a lifelong interest in aeronautics, but is also concerned because liberal arts is their strength. They're wondering if the BA would be best option because of the stronger liberal arts foundation, or if the interdepartmental engineering path is better because it can be more aligned with an aeronautic career goal, starting with mechanical engineering.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't want to say right now what is the best for the student right now. I think that's something that you as a student, you're going to want to be working with your academic advisor to work through everything related to your goals and interests. Depending on, I know there are some jobs in government that specifically require you to have an engineering degree. So if that's your ultimate outcome, getting that engineering major might be the best option. I also don't want to, totally close off the idea of doing double majors. We do find that about 15% of our students have 15% of students in the Hajim school, so the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, have a second major, and about 35% of our students have a minor. So it is, possible for students to get something else in addition to engineering, but specifically thinking about that curricular, achieving those goals through the curriculum, I hate to say that it depends, but I think it depends in this case.
I think part of the strength is that first semester curriculum between so many of the Hajim engineering majors are so similar in terms of the introductory semester that this doesn't necessarily have to be figured out, before day one. You could potentially take the introductory course in mechanical engineering and start having these discussions with faculty. I mean, you can contact them now. We have had prospective students contact faculty and get responses just so they can get a better understanding of where they're going. It's a good one. What is the most promising feature that your institution offers that most colleges and universities do not?
I will say that one of the things that I heard recently is as a really big plus is our connections to the other units. I think so it's kind of the two-sided coin that gets back to actually what I had on, I think, like the very first slide. The university it's a huge player in the area. So I mean, a lot of our enterprise is under the medical umbrella. So we are the largest employer in the region, and a lot of that has to do with our medical focus. But that does not mean that our academic offerings are any less hindered or handicapped. We do have a large research institution that has a lot of strengths in all of our units. Art sciences and engineering. The Eastman School of Music is arguably the best music school in the country. The Memorial Art Gallery is one of the first. We were one of the first universities that had an attached art gallery. So and they actually pride themselves on really being. They're right across the Memorial Art Gallery is right across the street from a high school. So they really pride themselves on being a community art gallery. So the Laboratory for Laser Energetics, they have either the largest or the second largest laser in the country. And some of the work that was produced out of that space resulted in Donna Strickland receiving the Nobel Prize in a few years ago. So definitely we have a lot of great opportunities available for folks across the university, and just being enrolled at the University of Rochester means that you have access to those great things as well.
Is it possible to join some of these student organizations without having declared engineering? I think it might be a good way to learn if I am successful on an engineering path.
Absolutely. As a very, as one example, Baja, the Baja team, they travel for competitions. I think they would benefit from someone who was really had that background in like business and was able to come up with all the logistics for traveling and budgeting and that sort of. So I mean, all of these groups have a lot of different of those. All of the groups have some sort of financial aspect. A lot of their programs do require money, but they all benefit from folks of different backgrounds joining. So.
One of the questions about the research and innovation grants, and are they available to international students?
I
am looking, and I don't see if there's that there's a restriction that international students are not allowed to receive.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, but I didn't want to be definitive about it.
All right. There was a shout out for the iZone. That was one of the highlights of one of the prospective students' tour.
Great.
Oh, here's a good here. What are the prospects and challenges for women students undertaking STEM majors, especially in interdisciplinary areas of computer science and engineering, humanities, social sciences, and gender?
Yeah, I mean, most directly in computing, we do have a student organization. I guess we have two. There's the Society of Women Engineers, but we also have a student organization called Women in Computing, Minorities in Computing. And they do a lot, both, actually, they do some community engagement as well, but they do a lot with tutoring and community building, because they know that that's a minoritized group in that area. I mean, across our School of Engineering, I want to say that we're about 30% women. And I know the biomedical engineering program, stands out to me because they are above 50% women in their undergraduate population. But each of the programs, altogether, the programs are about 30%. So I think it's probably going to be about finding that sense of community within the university, and I think that is possible. A lot of the programs do offer. I showed that the first 2 semesters for the common commonalities between the 2 majors, but once you get to the sophomore level and junior level classes, a lot of students are taking a lot of the courses at the same time. So I feel like you are really able to build that sense of community with the other folks in your major.
All right, we got time for like 2 more questions. For the grand challenges, what is the likely timeline for completing all of them? 1 per year or semester, for example. If I don't declare engineering until spring of sophomore year, would I still have the time to do the grand challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can start the grand challenges as soon as your first semester. I want to say that typically it takes, if you join the program having no background and you wanted to do all 5 of these experiences, that would probably take you 2 calendar years. But that's something that you'll want to work with Emma to really plot out. Some students are able to do it in a really compressed time frame, but some students are able to do it so that it's spread out over their 4 years. And that 4 years doesn't necessarily just mean the semesters. That could be summer experiences, or that could be winter break experiences. In terms of, do you need to be an engineer to do it? You don't. For the past few years, we've actually had between 20 and 33% of the students who graduate as Grand Challenges scholars who are in the School of Arts and Sciences. And perhaps, maybe not, it might not be surprising. So, or enhanced virtual reality. I think we had a student who was a neuroscience who graduated that. So they are kind of aligned with, each of the areas that they're interested in.
All right, we're at about time. I guess the last question that we could have, and I think this is more of an action item, which is a good way to end, I think. So if you're a prospective student, or if you are a parent or prospective student watching, what can they do now? What's next?
I mean, if you're prospective and you're interested in learning more about the University of Rochester, this certainly is one introduction to it. I know the Office of Admissions does have more targeted things where they'll talk, much more about, applying to the university and, the other majors that we offer, some of the highlights from arts and sciences. They're definitely going to, be able to tell you much more about like deadlines and all that sort of thing. If you're watching this and you're in that space between deciding between the University of Rochester and other schools, feel free to reach out to me or Nick, or I'll put Nick and Emma on the spot here and say that you can contact them too, and say, perhaps you're, deciding between a few different schools, and here are the factors, and can you help me figure out what's going on? How I can, what information would be helpful for you to make that decision. If you've chosen the University of Rochester and you're about to enroll, I think just like hang tight, and you can reach out to us just to say what your interests are, but at that point you'll be assigned an academic advisor soon. So it's work with your academic advisor once you're matriculated, and we can help you get access to either academic advising or access to the different opportunities that I mentioned on all the previous slides.
All right, excellent. And another thing you can do is go and check all the other Full Spectrum series videos that are archived on our Facebook page and Instagram and YouTube. If you want to get a sense of really what some of the other disciplines do without necessarily having to be fully invested in your own time in watching the videos. So we'd be very happy for you to go and look at these. Like I said, we're available for this. One of the best things about colleges and universities is that they have to put the contact information for your professors, even if you're not a student here. So you have the ability to look at the faculty pages. Underneath their names will have their areas of study and their areas of research. So that is a good place. If you want to talk to one of us before then, you can contact us and we can talk to you about what it's like talking to a faculty as a prospective student. Dean Funkenbush, in addition to being dean, is also faculty, so he does get these requests from time to time. So I think they are interested in anybody who is interested in what they have been spending, 20, 30 plus years of their life studying. So, well, all right. That will conclude things for today. As I said before, we have a double header on Friday with electrical and computer engineering, and then data science right after. We will be starting, I believe, at 1 for electrical and computer engineering, and then 2:15 for data science, because I will need 5 to 10 minutes to catch my breath in between sessions. So thank you all for coming. We hope you have a great day, and we hope to see you soon.
Bye-bye.